Hey everybody, welcome to Our Favorite Frontier, the only Star Trek The Next Generation podcast hosted by me and Nick. Hey Nick!
Hey, what's going on, Alex?
Justice. That's what's going on.
Captain's log, stardate 41255.6. After delivering a party of Earth colonists to the Stranad solar system, we have discovered another Class M planet in the adjoining Rubicon star system. We are now in orbit there, having determined it to be inhabited as well as unusually lovely. My first officer has taken an away team down to make contact, and they are in the process of returning to the ship.
Let's talk about Justice.
Let's talk about Justice. Nick, what did you think of Justice?
I thought it was the best episode we've had so far.
I will not disagree with you.
You would not disagree with me.
I would not.
I found it to be very entertaining. Obviously, it's having its problems that you probably feel from, you watched, the seasons of this show. You probably expect more from it, watching it again. But as far as we've gone, this is just a nice, fun episode with a straightforward plot, with some resolve. And obviously, it wasn't a fantastic episode, but it was humorous and it was entertaining. Kept my attention.
Mm-hmm. I think when I watched Star Trek The Next Generation the very first time, I think I liked this episode because I agreed it was the best one that existed thus far. It still has a lot of the same goofy flaws that we'll go over. But I think the core concept is really strong in this one, which at its core is, what if you accidentally commit a crime on a strange world, in a strange land, and you don't know the rules of? How do you accept punishment? And that's an interesting question. You then have to layer in, of course, the Prime Directive that says you cannot interfere, and you've got yourself a good ethical dilemma.
I felt like this kind of really brought, every episode, thus far that's had a big determining debate is humanity. Like, what have they done? They're kind of being put on trial. That's what every episode's theme seems to be. This one's another classic example of what's been shown to us so far, but I felt, again, this one more entertaining with what do you do when you disturb the law of the land.
Yes. Now, like I said, I liked this one the first time I saw it. But as I rewatched it, I realized, wow, does the rest of the show do a lot better job at doing it. Particularly, I noticed a couple parallels. One of the ones I noticed, you won't obviously understand what I'm saying, but listeners, I got a lot of comparisons to Who Watches the Watchers for the season 3 episode. That's one of maybe my top 5 episodes of the show. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely... But it has a strong concept, but it falls apart of just being very, very comical and goofy. Namely, that the Edu are just
sex people.
They're sex people. They're just swinging all day long.
I will tell you, I laughed my ass off when that one girl goes, "I welcome this huge one." She goes right over the Worf. I'm like, oh my god. And then Worf is just pretty much admitting the fact that he's just gonna destroy any woman that he would come in, physical contact with. I just thought that was funny. I was very upset Data didn't go down because, being fully functional and all.
Yeah, Worf, I got a lot to say about, not a lot, I have 2 things to say about Worf. One, yes, it's funny, especially that it was just a weird conversation that he had with Riker, the way it was phrased. He's just like, what about good old sex, Worf? Do you like the sex? And it's like, ugh. Could you say that a little weirder, Jonathan Frakes?
It's just like Tommy Wiseau. So anyway, how's your sex life?
Worf?
This show would be more entertaining with Tommy Wiseau.
Oh, he should have been Data.
I would have loved that to be Data. That would be amazing.
But the other thing about Worf, and this is a real little side nitpick note, they like to run everywhere, the Edu. And at one point, they start running because Riker's like, oh, the Edu like to run everywhere. He goes, when in Rome, and Worf goes, when in where? Problem with that joke is that Worf lived on planet Earth, so writers, you messed up. We all know that Worf was adopted by humans after the Kidder Massacre when his parents were killed. So
Yeah, classic. Everyone knows
get
that.
get your canon straight, Star Trek writers. And hey, this is PostProduction Alex coming at you with one other little bit of information. In this episode, Worf responds to When in Rome like this.
When in Rome, eh?
When where, sir?
But in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 5, Episode 7, he responds like this.
When in Rome.
So at some point between TNG Season 1, Episode 8 and DS9, Season 5, Episode 7, Worf learned where the city of Rome is and what you do when you're there. Okay, back to our real conversation. Yeah, so the Edu are comical because they wear these like... It looks like a toga party, but no one's drunk.
They just all want to bang. Everyone's making out with each other. Everyone wants to have sex. Wesley has a big freaking boner. And, the poor kid can't even function. I love that for some reason Picard is like, oh, Wesley's going on this mission for no reason. It's not like Wesley has, screwed up everything thus far.
Yep, that's another example of Wesley being in this show for no reason at all, other than Gene Roddenberry wanted him there.
Well, he did, actually make the conflict in the episode.
He did. Which, let's talk about the conflict of the episode. Because I thought... I remember very clearly in my initial rewatch the whole Wesley accidentally commits a crime. Does he get the death penalty or not? That's the core issue of this episode. I completely forgot that there's an utterly pointless side plot of this shiny, massless orb god who just watches over the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you take him out of the episode still works. You still have this good concept. You still do have what could be an interesting story. So I don't really understand why they felt the need to have there's a supervising god who may or may not be happy, other than they wanted Picard to give they wanted a way to have someone give approval to Picard about whether or not he was just in taking away his people. Because the way the episode is structured right now is Picard is choosing his people over the Edo. Is that right? And he looks up to the Orb God and says, hey, God, here's my thoughts on the situation. The Orb God's like, I approve. You're in. Back to the Enterprise with you, little scamp. But I thought it was kind of pointless because otherwise it would have made Picard's resolve stronger, and it would have put the ball in our court as viewers to have us make that determination rather than have a god sort of give it the stamp of approval.
Honestly, I mean, from my standpoint, the way the episode was going, they just didn't have a good enough side plot, so they needed to make something up for it. I'm sure that was like kind of more of a last minute thing. Also, the show is not an HBO. Knowing that that particular episode, it probably would have been a whole Game of Thrones sex type experience, but, in the 80s.
The 80s.
And not on HBO. We got an episode that, our modern audience would be sad about. I mean, you have a sex planet. I mean, put that to good use.
What if I told you this is one of 2 sex planets that shows up
there are
in
more
Star
sex
Trek The Next
Is
Generation?
it the same sex planet?
No, there's one that's... It's more like the Las Vegas planet, I guess.
It's not really sex planet like there's one because everyone's dressed.
Well, there's lots of prostitutes, and Riker has lots of sex when they go to. The planet is called Risa. It's sort of like the vacation planet that everyone goes to unwind, and the only thing you ever see in the show is people sitting by the pool or getting prostitutes.
Well, I mean, this one wasn't prostitution. This was just like free love and sex, and everyone was dressed, skimpily and just...
That's true.
That's all
yes.
they wanted to do was make love. Poor Wesley, he was so uncomfortable. The girl wanted to learn how to play baseball or some shit.
And then instead of being able to play baseball, they just play this awkward let's run and kind of throw a ball game.
Again, would have been great for Time Wiseau.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're right.
Why isn't there a cut of this episode with Tom Wiseau? That's what I would think. It would be fantastic.
What is his line? It's like, let's throw a ball around or something.
And then he just plays catch. He plays tosses. I don't know. He just tosses a stupid football the entire time.
within like a 2-foot radius of the other people.
For our viewers who have no idea what we're talking about the
The
classic,
Room.
yeah, early 2000s The Room with Tommy Wiseau. If you have not watched it, it is the worst movie ever made.
Fateful Findings would like to have a word with you on that.
Could we just do a podcast about that right now? Oh my god.
I think Fateful Findings is worse.
Fateful Findings is worse. Because at least there's a somewhat structured plot of The Room.
Yeah, The Room at least has a story you can follow. Fateful Findings is batshit insane from start to finish.
God, I love it.
Yeah.
Definitely check out that movie as well. Neil Breen, critically acclaimed movie director, actor, writer,
Producer.
in his own head.
Yeah.
Great times. But back to the episode.
Back to the episode.
I found just with the crime. I know that we're trying to do something minimal. There's supposed to be a minimal crime that shows like the extreme gap of what they consider right and wrong, and how there's only one punishment. Though obviously in American society, as we see it today, obviously different rate of punishment for a different rate of crime.
Yes.
I found it interesting that they were like capital punishment for anything that happens in the small area, especially when some kid just falls into a bed of flowers. It makes you just think about just the justice system that we have in America. Obviously, that was trying to play on the strings of society today, though putting it into a fictitious television episode.
Yes, and that was the extreme Roddenberry influence of saying like, look how far we've come. We're they never miss an opportunity to point out how good life on Earth is nowadays, and how they've got all their problems. They've got all their shit together basically.
It's also showing a statement on probably people who don't understand the laws and how they could be taken advantage of. It just makes you think of these things, though it wasn't directly brought up in the episode, because it was pretty straightforward the way they were going to do their punishment and stuff. But in probably other countries, you disobey their laws and you're going to take it for a rue and not know what's going on or what the punishments are. It just makes you think about that entire spectrum of punishments for things that you might not even think are wrong.
Sure. So now I'd like to shift gears into our segment. We do this every week. We've just never had a title for it, and I've just made up a title for it right now. It's called Is Captain My Captain? Which is Picard is the captain of the Enterprise, but Nick pointed out early on that Riker is a better functioning, more well-rounded acting captain. So we've looked at this every episode since, because I sort of came to agree with you in rewatching these first couple episodes.
I think it's a fun concept to play with. This
yes.
episode, though, I felt like Picard was the captain.
Yes, Picard came into his own a bit more this episode.
Riker really stood. He was there, but he was really on the sidelines. He wasn't doing much. He was on the planet. He was talking to the people. He was being an awkward manager. I guess the Worf asked him about his sex life. He did really come up with a solution to help Wesley. He didn't, he wasn't the one really reacting to the situations. He acted more like one of the crew than as his more leadership role he holds. I am looking out for that in all these episodes, because I did find that to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, and this is, I think, when they realized that, oh, wait a minute, we have a kick-ass actor here who gives one hell of a motivational speech. Let's have him give a motivational speech. So they finally gave Picard a chance to just they gave Patrick Stewart a chance to act his ass off.
But then Riker is the one who says the last line, and then they get beaten up after that. So maybe Riker, with his paraphrasing line right at the end there, is what got them beamed up.
Yeah, that's Picard. Picard says everything, and Riker's got to be the layman's term hype man at the end. Picard comes out and he's like, well, we have these laws, but you must understand that things are not always as they seem, and humanity is the exception. And Riker comes in and goes, yo, things ain't black and white! That's my hype man.
That's your hype man voice?
I don't know. I've never been a hype man. What do you want?
You were a hype man.
I was?
Yeah, I felt like you were a hype man in the band we had in high school. For those who don't know, Alex and I were in a band in high school.
And we kicked ass.
We did kick a lot of ass, and I would say you were a hype man of some sorts.
I'll take it.
Yeah. You always had some comments. Maybe it wasn't out loud during a song, but definitely during intermissions, you got that crowd going.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Anything else you want to say about this episode?
Let me just check these notes. Yeah, no problems with data this episode, so that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Klingons like rough sex.
Yes. Wesley sucks.
Wesley sucks. The mediators who were gonna literally kill Wesley on the spot were freaking dorks.
Yeah, I know, right?
And Lieutenant Yar is a horny bastard. That's all I got.
She is.
She's like drop of a hat. She got all like flustered out.
The drop of a hat. The drop of a hat. Any hat.
She's all about that fully functional lifestyle now, so I don't know who's gonna satisfy her.
Right. All right. Well,
yeah.
That's all we got for this episode. Then join us next week when we discuss The Battle.
The Battle.
The name of the episode is called The Battle.
I read a small description. I believe our friends the Ferengi are back.
Oh, yes. Oh, this is the one with the USS Stargazer. I say that like I'm excited. But but yeah, I know which one this is now.
Okay, great. Now I got to deal with some Ferengi nonsense.
I don't think the Ferengi are ever as bad as they were in that first episode.
That's good.
I think they get better. But let's see, because I forgot. So,
Well, thank you for joining us today. I hope you like, comment, subscribe, whatever you guys got to do to make yourselves happy and make us happy. So we will see you next time.
Our Favorite Frontier is hosted by Alex Russo and Nick Caladona, edited by Alex Russo and produced by Nerdy Inc. Be sure to follow us on YouTube to catch all of our videos, as well as like us on Facebook, Twitter, and whatever other social media we have.